whichever decision you make in medicine, just know you're going to be very successful because you have to decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Me and the way in which I practice, and I'm sure Renee and the way how she practices is completely different than how we thought we were going to be practicing.
So,
but we're very happy with how we are currently practicing because we actually have just said, you know what, I don't care what anybody else says, I'm gonna practice the way how I wanna practice. And as a matter of fact, I've gotten so many calls from some of my attendings who asked me for advice on certain career decisions that I've made. Like 10 years ago, you was like dissing me for like doing all this stuff.
I want to do locums now.
You know what? I'm gonna charge you for that. And now that they pay me, I'm their personal coach.
Get out of here.
You gotta fill your cups, guys. What's good, everyone? My name is Dr. Nee, host of Docs Outside the Box, and I'm joined by
Dr. Renee. Yeah.
See, I would think since we're in Ghana, you would have more of a Ghanaian theme.
Like what?
I don't know, but your approach, your singing, the style, whatever you had.
That was
I would just think that you would have more of a
Ghanaian, like Ghanaian Sunday church, you know, when they have those songs.
Gotta be a little bit off key, a little bit.
That wasn't off key?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was more like Sunday church, Chitlin Circuit type.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I got.
Please. There was no daggone Chitlin Circuit.
Well, everyone, I let the cat out the bag. We here in Ghana, we're doing our medical mission. We are on week 2
in Ghana.
of our time in Ghana. We're actually in Kumasi, which is the second largest city in Ghana. So we came in and flew into Accra. That's actually where my peoples, where 23andMe say I'm from.
Or your parents. your actual 23andMe, your parents.
Yeah, I didn't need 23andMe to tell me what.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were there for some time, saw some family, and now we're up in Kumasi where we're doing a mission. And today is day 1
of the mission.
And we were supposed to actually record an episode that was a more formal episode, but I'll be honest with y'all, I'm tired. And I don't feel like going into, doing all the research and talking about the things that we need to talk about and producing an entire episode. I just said, look, let's talk about what the fans be writing in. Let's talk to those people, and then we go from there.
They wouldn't have known anything if you had just gone into it. Like they didn't
need to know.
They didn't need to know. Like they don't know the plan. They only know what's presented.
Well, I'm letting y'all know I'm tired. Listen, in another episode, or actually in this episode, Alfred, I'm gonna put some B-roll in here. Throw some B-roll in here. Listen, man, we we created basically like a little mini clinic. We take bins of medicine. We talk about antibiotics, pain medicine, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Toradol. We got anesthesia medications. We got IV fluids, and we carry them in these large bins. Like we got like 7 or 8 of them. I got to take some videos so you can see.
Shout out to International Healthcare Volunteers.
That's the group we with.
Yep.
And they've been going, as an organization, they've been going to Ghana since 2002.
Yeah.
Right? So we talking about sutures, we talking about staplers, and we got so much equipment, and we're gonna be doing a lot of surgeries. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach. And to be honest with you, it's not just surgery, and it's not just procedures, and it's not just taking care of people and then piecing out in 2 weeks. It's really bi-directional type things. Like one, I'm doing a couple of ganglion cysts where, you get the little thing on your hands and stuff. I ain't doing it, but I'm following a Ghanaian surgeon who's really adept at doing this, right?
And he doesn't do like the smash technique?
No, this one wouldn't be the smash. Hey, y'all should look it up. The old school way, like, this is back in like, I don't know how long ago, but when you get a little ganglion cyst, a little fluid collection right there,
on your
they would take a Bible and just go, bow. Put the good book.
I saw that the other day.
Put the good book on your hand.
I saw that the other day on Instagram.
Did someone do it?
Yes.
Did it work?
Apparently it was a doctor or some medical professional. I don't know. But I was like, I don't think you're supposed to do that. But
you ever think about some of the old school things that in your specialty used to do? Because I know isn't there like
give IV alcohol?
What?
Isn't there a prescription that shows like for kids? Oh wait, IV alcohol
for preterm labor. Yeah, you get a bunch of drunk pregnant women. Yeah, we used to do IV alcohol. Not when I was training, but years before.
I can't think about anything too crazy outside of like the barbarian type stuff we used to do, like the amputations in war.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they give people like, a swig of alcohol and they got the saw, like that scene from Glory.
Yeah.
Where they're cutting, and doing the amputation.
Biting down on a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or doctors smoking at the bedside. So, how you feeling today?
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor? Once again, the brand named most was Camel.
Or have a cigarette. Didn't they tell pregnant women to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, have a cigarette.
Have a glass of wine. I remember my psych teacher.
And they actually write a prescription for that. And then
Well,
who's
I
going
don't
to
know
take
if
it
they
to?
write a prescription.
No, they did. They have pictures,
Really?
old school pictures
Yeah.
of like a prescription that says like either have a cigarette or something like that. And I'm like, well, who do you take that to?
No, what was funny was, I'm not going to say the name of the cigarette company because I'm not sure it was them, but they did a whole
we're not trying to get
documentary.
sued.
Yeah. They did a whole documentary on smoking years ago where it basically was like, no, you should smoke when you're pregnant because then the baby will come out smaller. I'm like, yeah, that's called intrauterine growth restriction. Hello?
But listen, guys, if we were that type of show, we would get into further depth about that. But we don't talk about medical stuff.
We don't talk about medical stuff.
Because we docs outside the box and we don't give a damn
another
about
podcast
we don't give a
for
damn
that.
about clinical medicine. We talk about money, we talk about pop culture, and we talk about mindset, and we talking about
careers in medicine.
So listen, in another episode, I'll talk about like my experience here over these last 2 weeks doing this medical mission. Renee will jump in and we'll go from there. If you have any questions about kind of how we make it work with Renee being here with the 2 kids and, me coming home, by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and so forth, go to last year's episode. We got to find out what that was. But last year's episode,
Alfred will put it up on the screen.
we talked about all of what
And
goes
we can link
into
it down
that.
in the show notes.
That's a really interesting perspective of what it's like for 2 doctors, one of them clinically working, the other one at home with the kids, and how we make it work, and particularly here on a medical mission. So make sure you check that out. But we have some other housekeeping things that Renee has been bugging me about before we started recording.
Yes.
So please, can you just talk about the housekeeping stuff?
Yes, we have 2 things before we get into our Q&A. So we are going to do Q&A today and answer somebody's question. But the first thing is that we wanted to just, one, make an announcement that we are going to be doing a presentation with the Road to Residency program, which is sponsored by Tour for Diversity, SNMA, Student National Medical Association, and LMSA, Latino Medical Student Association. And our presentation is actually going to be the financially savvy resident, how to become a financially savvy resident. And that's going to be on September 10th, I believe, September 10th. And it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you check out the SNMA site or Tour for Diversity site or LMSA site for the link to that. We will also try to put the link in the show notes if the link is already available.
So what we should do, I'm really interested in, I always think about it, I'm like, what the hell are they going to learn from us? Because we did the complete...
Well, but that's the thing.
I was horrible with my money, yo.
But that's the
Listen,
thing.
if you want to learn about how doctors graduated with like mad student loan debt and like didn't know how to handle their student loan debt, you want to come into this presentation. If you want to know about how doctors can like avoid like the right things to do, come listen to this presentation.
Here's what not to do.
Here's not what, sometimes you learn that better.
Here's what we did. Now do the opposite. Do the opposite.
How do you grow $240,000 into $330,000? Listen to us.
And not investments in debt.
Listen to us. That was all our fault. We
Well, there are things we didn't know, but that was also Sally Mae's fault, which is why you got the class action money.
Oh, yeah, my $8?
No, $8.
Okay,
it's 77.
What's the next one?
So the next thing, really quickly, is that we wanted to give a shout out to Melissa. Melissa is an OB from Phoenix, Arizona. And she wrote in after one of our most recent episodes, and she says, "Good morning, I'm Melissa, another OB. Just want to say I heard you on Jimmy Turner's show," shout out to Jimmy Turner, "and started listening to your show, and I love you both. Thank you for being an inspiration to our young docs and how to make the best of our careers and being an inspiration for some of our older docs too. I always feel like I learned something from you. And yes, camp is worth it. So we did talk about camp.
Yo,
sending our
camp is
kids to
hella
camp.
expensive. Camp
Well, let
is
me
not, I
finish.
don't know if camp is really worth it.
Don't go into
I'm
it yet.
sorry,
Let me
you
finish
triggered
the
me.
thing yet.
Camp is not worth it.
Okay, and yes, camp is worth it.
Nope.
Just wait until your kids are older and you are traveling for these sports camps, but they love it. So I just add in an extra shift to pay for it.
What extra shift? The
Extra locum shift.
The extra shift pays for food. Yo, these camps are crazy expensive. They don't include food.
Some of them don't. Some of them don't.
Okay, so why do you keep choosing the ones that don't include food?
So it's just my choice?
Yes.
It's just me?
Yes.
It's just my choice.
I told you the camp that I was looking for.
Anyway, whatever. The camp that you were looking for, like,
It was
seriously?
like jujitsu camp. Like, it was just like...
No, you were not even in on that camp, so stop playing. Freaking your kids sitting in a small room cramped
They get food though, right?
with 50 other kids.
But anyway, listen, guys.
Anyway, shout out to Melissa. Thank you for sending us that. And if you want to send us a review, a testimonial, a thank you, or a question, or whatever, okay, you can go to the link that is literally right below this podcast episode.
Just ask Alfred if you could just put a screenshot of what it looks like, fan mail looks like.
fan mail.
It's the first link whenever a show starts. It's in the show notes and it'll say, you got fan mail. If you want to write to us, click on this. Boom.
Yep. It's a text message. You can just send it to us. So
we appreciate you, Melissa. Thank you. We just some real two doctors making it work. Trying to make it work. And we just feel like, our experience, people can learn a lot from our experience. So we appreciate you right now.
We hope.
Make sure you leave us a 5-star review also. Thanks.
5-star review.
Let's jump into this episode. Let's jump into this episode.
All right. So the Q&A is from Hadassah.
And we're going to try something new, guys. I have not read, first of all, I didn't read the fan mail.
No, you didn't.
And I did not really particularly.
I'm in charge.
I did not actually.
In charge?
I did not actually read this question that came from Dr. Hadassah. So I'm excited about it. Let's go.
Okay, so this is from Dr. Hadassah. I believe Dr. Hadassah is Ghanaian, no?
I don't know.
I think, isn't she the one that does the stuff with her husband on Instagram? They refurbish furniture.
She in medical school?
Some pim. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's her. But hey team, you have an inquiry. It's from Dr. Hadassah. Here's the message. All right, well here go. I'm an M1 with an interest in serving the older adult population, specifically underserved older adults in my community. I'm exploring different specialties online, but I love to hear your opinion because you can't trust everything on Google. I can't even trust everything on this podcast, so don't even worry.
Oh, shit.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
Wait, hold on real quick. Like, are we like content creators or are we influencers?
What's the difference?
Because influencers they say a lot of bullshit. And I'm like, damn, do we count as that?
I hope not.
And content creators,
I
we create
try not
content,
to say a bunch of bullshit.
We create stuff, but anyway, keep going.
I want to work in a field that is solely outpatient, where I can develop long-term relationships with my patients while maintaining a good work-life balance. At the moment, dermatology and allergy immunology have caught my eye because older adults have unique problems in those fields. And from what I can see, there is research/care in those fields as it relates to geriatrics and is less common.
All right. Okay, keep going.
I know what you're going to say.
Keep going.
Hey, I'm sliding.
You want the real? Keep going.
I'm sliding in a second question. Don't come for me, she says. I know you guys promote locums, but is it possible to develop long-term physician-patient relationships with locums? I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'm not certain. Lastly, you guys are great and so inspiring. I tell all my classmates about your show. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Dr. Hadassah, for the question.
Dermatology versus
What's so funny, Nee? What's so funny?
Okay, that's a big difference between dermatology and how you're going to relate to your patients versus what's the other one?
Allergy,
and
immunology.
immunology and stuff, and the way in which you interact with your patients. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think a dermatologist really has long-term relationships with their patients.
Neither.
I think it's kind of a long-term relationship
Dermatologists,
with the
chime
money.
in here.
With the money, you know what I'm saying? And I swear to God, if a dermatologist comes from me and tries to say something different, like, that's the cool thing about this show. Like, we can be real, right? And if a dermatologist tries to come with me and like, yo, like, I've always wanted to be a dermatologist, have these long-lasting relationships with patients, and really, like, shut up, all right?
Oh, let's look at. Oh yeah, we are. Okay.
Like, listen, I know that dermatologists are amazing doctors. Y'all are amazing doctors. Y'all are one of the smartest ones in med school. Y'all did the work that you needed to do to get into residency. But stop fronting, yo. Like, come on. Like, we know what this is. Listen, Dr. Hadassah, if you're looking for an outpatient experience and you're thinking about dermatology, yes, dermatology is purely outpatient, right? Because when Stevens Johnson comes in, you can't find a dermatologist nowhere. All right, they'll tell you to
Call the hospitalist.
call that transfer line in no time. And the one dermatologists listen to the show, they know, right? But allergy and what was the one? Allergy and immunology.
Yes.
Definitely, you can have a long-term relationship with that.
Yes.
I definitely think so.
That's one.
And I'm lying. Dermatology, you technically could have a long-term relationship with it.
Let's say it's possible, but it's not probable.
Yeah. Right.
It's possible, but it's not probable with dermatology. Allergy and immunology, a little bit different. You are going to have patients where, yes, you are going to be seeing them on a more consistent basis, just for, different things. You might have people who, I don't know, like what kind of patients? A lot of the gluten allergy patients now, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Nancy Joseph, you should be chiming in on this one.
So I'll just say this. I think that now's the time. As an M1, I think definitely try to do as well as you can on your first year. Try to do as well as you can on your second year.
And your boards.
And if you have an opportunity to do some shadowing in the summers in between, go ahead and do that. But I think the real happens during your third year, where you get to see how medicine in general is practiced. And depending on where your medical school is, more than likely you're going to get a whole bunch of inpatient, and then you're going to get a couple of sprinklings of outpatient, whatever that may be. It may be outpatient surgery, it may be outpatient, whatever it may, OB, psych, family medicine, whatever it may be. Really try to hone in on those outpatient experiences and really be open-ended with how you look at all of these experiences. Because I think if you go into these experiences closed-ended or closed-minded and just really focus on, I want to do X, Y, and Z, then I think a lot of times you don't give something that you may not have considered an opportunity. So case in point, like, Renee thought that she wanted to do pediatrics from when we started, talking
from when I was
in the
10.
beginning. She wanted to be a pediatrician. And then all of a sudden when we became, first year, she's like, I want to be a pediatric endocrinologist. Why? Because and I asked her why. And she's like, because it just is long and it sounds really dope.
That's,
right?
You know what, man?
And it's just like,
but why are you lying?
But why you want to be a pediatric endocrinologist? Who wants to be a pediatric endocrinologist?
You're lying, first of all.
What is the rationale?
Because it sounds long. Just say you don't know what a pediatric endocrinologist is. Just say you don't know. Just say you don't know.
I didn't know what a pediatric
exactly.
And you damn sure didn't know either.
Of course I knew what a pediatric. What does coming from Brooklyn have to do with not knowing what a pediatric endocrinologist
So
does?
student Dr. Hadassah, listen.
That ain't make no sense.
I think that she wanted to go into pediatrics, and then when she finally did pediatrics, she hated it.
I did.
She don't like kids, which is why I take care of the kids. I cook for the kids. I do everything.
This is why I said that you can Google whatever, because you're going to get BS on this podcast too. I promise you that.
Well, if she wasn't closed-minded, then she wouldn't have switched into OB.
But wait, that doesn't make sense. If I were closed-minded, then I would have stayed with pediatrics. Like that, what you just said, that you said if I wasn't closed-minded, I wouldn't have switched into OB.
Is that what I said?
This is what, play it over, Alfred. Play it over.
if she wasn't closed-minded, then she wouldn't have switched into OB.
You know what I mean. I meant to say basically, it's a good thing that you were open-minded and that you realize, hey, you didn't want to practice veterinary
You tried
medicine.
to insult me.
You don't want to practice veterinary medicine. You want your patients talking to you. You want to deal with the parents. And, listen.
Didn't have anything to do with the parents.
You're a lie. So
It
listen.
didn't.
That's why I didn't do pediatric surgery.
It didn't have anything to do with the parents. I just thought pediatrics was boring. I was like, this is like internal medicine for
I thought
kids.
the parents were annoying. And
I don't even remember talking to any parents to tell you
even
the
worse,
truth.
look at it. How you can't be talking to kids without talking to their parents.
I didn't feel like talking to their parents because I was bored.
So you didn't like the parents.
I don't even know if I would have. I didn't talk to them.
Student Dr. Hadassah, make sure you really jump on those experiences.
Yes.
Because I think, I'll be really honest with you, like you're really not going to get a true sense of like the outpatient experience for whatever it is until you actually until you really try to do some sub-Is. I think sub-Is is where you'll really start to see what it's like.
Maybe.
And then the key thing also is once you're getting through all of these experiences, think about what you want to do, like what you can see yourself doing for a significant period of time. And what I mean a significant period of time is 10 years plus. What type of specialty drives you? Where is it that you're getting your passion from? What is it that you really enjoy doing? For me, it was surgery. I really enjoy doing something, removing something, or taking care of whatever it may be surgically, and then the next day seeing a change very quickly. That's my personality. That's how I worked, and that's why surgery works for me. But I decided to do trauma surgery for a couple of reasons. One, I'm all over the place. I like algorithms, but also I like to be a jack of all trades. And then also, and she can definitely attest to this, I made a lifestyle decision also, because I also knew for trauma surgery, you can just do trauma, you can just do general surgery, or you could just do critical care, or you could do all three. But most people know the lifestyle of trauma surgery is almost as close to being an ER doc.
Shift work.
It's very shift work based. So for me, that's why I decided to do that. So just one thing to keep in mind when you're deciding this is what kind of residency do you want to do, and can you make it outpatient like also?
Well, the other thing that I would say is look at your attendings, actually. Look at your attendings.
I know where you're going with this. Is your attendings miserable?
Are your attendings miserable? Are they complaining about certain things that you don't want to be complaining about later on, right? So I don't see my kids, or I can't pick up my kids, or, I haven't seen my husband in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Things like that, right? And not because your husband went off somewhere, but because you're at work, right? Things like that.
Why's it gotta be the husband?
Because I'm a woman that I'm talking about, like, as if I'm the attending.
I think it's 2024.
I'm a heterosexual woman.
Women,
so that's
women,
what I'm
women,
talking
women
about.
peace out on them.
Well,
men.
that's what I'm talking
Just
about.
as
Me
much
specifically
as
being in that situation.
Men peace out on women. So
okay, I'm talking about being in that situation if theoretically that were me, or hypothetically that were me.
We should do an episode about like beef, that like underlying beef that couples have and stuff.
Oh, they see the beef all the time. This is not underlying, baby. This is overlying.
This is like as open as like Drake and Kendrick.
No.
I hate the way that you talk, the way that you. Is that what you're gonna tell me? I hate the way that you dress.
Anywho, student Dr. Hadassah, look at your attendings and really get a gauge for kind of what are the complaints that they have, or what are the things that aren't complaints that they have, right? What are the joys that they have outside of work, not just at work, not just the things that they like to do at work. Those things are important, like Dr. Nee mentioned, but you've got to balance those things against all the things that are happening outside in your life. And honestly, you're really not going to get a full dose of what any of this is going to look like until you are in attending. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm just gonna give you a little secret. Family medicine.
Family medicine.
Yo, family medicine docs.
Versatile.
very versatile, and that is something that nobody
tells
talks
you.
about.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you.
Family medicine
Oh
is
my God,
where
they're
it's
so
at.
versatile, yo. So just something to keep in mind. If you
You
really
can
want
niche
that,
yourself.
if you want that outpatient experience, if you want that outpatient approach, I'm gonna tell you something right now. You'll get that with family medicine, but like you said, they're very versatile.
Yeah.
They're family medicine doctors who do family medicine and OB. They're family medicine doctors who do, they just literally run a whole bunch of nursing homes, and they are medical directors for nursing homes. Some people find that very lucrative. There's family medicine doctors who do dermatology. There's family medicine doctors that do
ER.
ER. I am telling you right now.
Urgent care.
That is one thing I wish, that's one thing I wish they had shown us more of in med school, is just like the versatility of certain specialties, particularly primary care.
Right. I think medical schools don't actually do a very good job at steering or giving students enough information about the careers that you can have in medicine.
Yeah.
I think they're very good at showing you the medicine of a certain specialty, but as far as building your career, I don't think residencies or medical schools do a good job at all
Of showing you your job.
of showing you what your life can look like, what your career can actually look like. They're just like, just go ahead, do this medicine, and you'll find a traditional way of doing it. And then if you do it that way, great. And if you don't like it, great.
So my biggest advice to you too, Dr. Hadassah, also know is there's no perfect answer. And just know that, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
I think what I wanted to say is whichever decision you make in medicine, just know that you're going to be very successful because you have to decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You have to really think about what works for you, your spouse, your kids, your family, and then kind of make or create your career based off of that. Me, in the way in which I practice, and I'm sure Renee, in the way how she practices, is completely different than how we thought we were going to be practicing once we got into med school, once we got into residency, and then once we graduated and are attendings on our own. That, from the beginning of becoming attendings to even now, looks completely different. But we're very happy with how we are currently practicing because we actually have just said, you know what? I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what my attendings say. I don't care what my med school teachers say. I'm going to practice the way how I want to practice. And as a matter of fact, I've gotten so many calls from some of my attendings who asked me for advice on certain career decisions that I've made. And they're just like, hey, how did you decide to go locums? Or, hey, how do I handle this contract situation? Or, hey, how do you handle your taxes? And I'm like, man, like 10 years ago, you was like dissing me for like doing all this stuff.
I want to do locums now.
You know what? I'm going to charge you for that. And now that they pay me, I'm their personal coach.
Get out of here.
I'm their coaches.
Get out of here.
You got to fill your cups, guys, in order to get out of the situation. Well, what's your second question?
The second question was about having long-term relationships with your patients when you're doing locums. And I would say that depends. I think that depends. I think it depends on how you're doing locums, what specialty you're in. First of all, is the specialty that you're in even one where you have long-term relationships? As far as trauma, no, you're not going to have long-term relationships with your trauma patients. Hopefully not, right? People be coming in all the time. As far as me being an OB, it depends, right? It depends on how I do the locums. If I am a locums doc who is consistently at a specific site, right? And I'm always at that site. So locums doesn't, so one thing we have to know, right? Locum tenens usually means placeholder and if there's a shortage or whatever, but it could just be your way of working at a certain facility. It could just mean that you're independently contracted, not necessarily that you're there only temporarily. So let's make that clear. So if you are in a place where you are doing locums, for example, or you're doing independent contract work and you're covering the clinic, then you are probably going to have long-term relationships with your patients.
What does long-term mean?
long term.
And the reason I asked that, I'm asking that because I don't think there's a definitive answer on it.
Yeah. Long term can mean a number of things.
It could mean a whole bunch of different things.
Yes.
And, in trauma surgery, whether you do locums or you don't do locums, you're not going to have a long-term relationship. If you do anesthesia, whether you do locums or if you do, if you're employed, it's not going to, you're not going to have a long-term, unless you do like pain management, right? Then that's different, right?
Yes.
For trauma, unless you do like general surgery, you might end up having like a long relationship with
quote
people.
Unquote.
Possibly and stuff, right? So this, based off of the specialty kind of rules what type of relationship that you're going to have. I think that's the overarching thing. And then as you get, further in, you can decide or you can figure out what type of long-term relationship you're going to have and what that means. That's the key.
Right.
What that means. If you're an ER doc, you're going to have your stragglers who come in over and over and over again. But more than likely, whether you do locums or you're employed, ER, you're not going to have a long-term relationship with your patients, right? So the ones that you have a long-term relationship outside of locums, those are the ones that even in locums, you still can have a long-term relationship.
Right.
So the key thing,
depending on how it's set up.
I think the majority of times in locums, you're probably not going to be able to develop enough time to have a long-term relationship if you're looking to say a year or more, right? But there are more and more opportunities where you can develop locum tenens. You can be working as a locum tenens at a hospital that maybe you may have worked at, or maybe just at a hospital that just needs literally like locum tenens for like the next 5 years. And they may ask you multiple times to become employed. You could just say, nope, I just want to stay locums. And go from there. Actually, you know what?
That's what happened to me.
I got to finish this one thing. Remember we talked about several weeks ago, I told you about this neurosurgeon who was at a facility who was really scared to sign on. They were working as a locum tenens, enjoying their life. And then for some reason, they just decided to engage into a conversation with the hospital about becoming employed. And this person was just was half-stepping the entire time.
But he said yes.
And he said yes, verbally, didn't sign the contract.
Yes. What?
So I caught up with him, and he decided to stay locums. And he said that he felt like a huge monkey off his back.
Really?
There's a little bit of some people pleasing going on in there, obviously.
Of course.
But you think as a neurosurgeon, you'd be like, look, like you're at the top of the hill. Like you ain't got to people please anybody. But
right.
as we know,
What made him, what did he end up doing to say no?
Oh, he just wrote to them in an email and then met with them and said, listen, I just can't do this. I don't want to do this. It doesn't seem right with me. And, and he moved on.
Okay.
That was it.
Good. And he still works there.
Yeah. And that's true. And he still works there because that was one of the concerns that he had, which was, okay, if I tell them that I don't want to sign on, will they still use me as a locums doc?
Yeah.
They're still using him.
Yeah. Only one is a butt in the seat.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about on another episode. But I think you can make locums look however you want it to look so that in some cases you might have long-term relationships with people and others you might not, right? And so I was at a facility for 5 years at one point, right, where I was doing call every month. And there were patients actually that I delivered and then I delivered again over the years. So that can happen. I was at another facility where I was doing locums and I was basically doing full scope OB locums, which basically means I was doing OR, I was doing deliveries, I was doing office work, I was doing all the things that a employed OB would do. And so I was there for about 10 months, right? A little bit less than a year. And I had quote unquote long-term relationships with some of those patients because some of those patients, either came in, at the point at which they were, just pregnant, and I took them all the way to their delivery or almost all the way to their delivery. And actually on my last day at that job, I actually had a patient who had come in. She had had several miscarriages. When I took her history, I found out that she had had, I think, 2 LEAP procedures on her cervix. So she had a, cervical insufficiency, basically. This is in a really remote place. I would not necessarily do this now, where I am right now, but because we were in such a remote place and MFM was like, there was no MFM there. I actually put in a cerclage, a prophylactic cerclage for her at about 14-ish weeks. And my last day that I was there, she got up to about 36 weeks and I took out her cerclage. And then she had sent me a message that she delivered very nicely, I think about 2 weeks later or whatever. And everything went, everything went well. So, that was kind of a long-term-ish, right, relationship that I had with her. And it, makes you feel good. Makes you can help somebody. So.
See, that's such a nice, I can't even mess it up. I'm not even going to say anything bad.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just going to let that
so
breathe.
Proud of you.
I'm just going to let that opportunity, that experience just breathe.
Thank you.
Growth. 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 All right, y'all. So listen, Dr. Hadassah, these were 2 good questions.
Very good.
You asked
Very
2
good.
questions, so you cannot ask any more questions. So you're done for the rest of the year.
We got a moratorium on questions.
The rest of the year. But listen, everyone, once again, we have made it really easy for you to ask us multiple questions, or excuse me, for you to ask us questions. So all you have to do is go to the show notes, the first line. It says, hey, if you want to write it to us, click here.
Click it right now. You got a question.
Yeah.
Just click it. What are you waiting for?
Talk about how good I look. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody has said that.
How good of a podcaster I am. All of that stuff. All of that.
Nobody has said that.
Yes. And we got some really good content that's going to continue to come out. And once we get back from Ghana, just be ready. September's coming. We're going to hit the ground running.
Back to school.
We got some great episodes
They're
coming up.
going back.
We got some great interviews that are coming up. Listen, it's how it goes. I love you guys.
You love them?
Yes.
You're in love with them?
I love each and every listener to this show. I love my whole team. Everybody knows who's part of this team. And that's it. And according to the algorithms, you guys don't care about what we say at the end. So, see you guys later.
Peace.
Hey, Alfred. It's Nee and Renee. Let's hit the
Nee and Renee.
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's good, everyone? It is Dr. Nee, joined by
Dr. Renee. Dr. Renee.
Let's start that again.
That was a great intro for me.
It was. I'm sorry about that. So